Hello, hello, hello. Can everybody hear me okay? I just want to welcome everybody to the 30th, that's 30th anniversary season of Monday Poets. So, I'm Kai Davis, and I'm going to be guiding you through this evening. I am the current Philadelphia Poet Laureate for 2024-25. Thank you. Is there anyone's first time at a Monday Poets event? Okay, that's a lot. That's great. All right, so before we get into it, we're gonna have some speakers and we're gonna have some poets. And the thing that makes readings great is when people are engaged and responding in real time. So if you hear something that moves you at any point, you could snap, just give that a try. I mean, some of you have cheese in your hands, double fisting. And if that's the case, you could go, since you're already eating the cheese. We're just gonna get right into it. So to start off the night, I want you all to welcome the president of the Free Library, Kelly Richards. Clap it up.
Thank you for that introduction. No poetry from me. It will come from all the skilled people. My poems are like roses are red, that kind of thing. So, or when I do story time, I'm reading one of your poems. Or thank you, Kai, for your kind introduction. For 30 years, the Free Library of Philadelphia has been a proud poetry supporter. And we are honored. Oh, go ahead, give the shout outs. All right. And we are honored to have our Monday Poet series celebrate 30 years. This remarkable accomplishment to rejoice in, not only for the Free Library, but for the city and communities too. Philadelphia has a long and rich history when it comes to the arts and poetry is no exception. It is woven into the fabric of the city's creative spirit. Our city has nurtured some of the most dynamic voices, including legends and contemporary spoken word artists. We're not just a hub for poetry, we're a community that values artistic expression. The Free Library of Philadelphia is proud to actively support our local poets. The talent in this city is incredible, and it is important that we continue to elevate these voices by providing spaces, platforms, and events like our Monday Poets series. We're ensuring that their voices are being heard. Whether it's seasoned poet or somebody like me, someone sharing their words for the very first time, we're here to support and to show that their words matter. Monday Poets exists to inspire and connect poets and the community members across Philadelphia. So we're excited to share this series not only at Parkway Central, but across the various neighborhood libraries. From North Philly to South Philly, we'll see poetry come alive in every corner of the city. Poetry is not a luxury, it's for everyone. It's for the young and old, for those who write, for those who simply listen. Poetry has the power to move, inspire, heal, and that's something we want to ensure everyone feels a part of. We're making poetry accessible and showing that these words, these stories belong to us all. It's not just a form of art, it's a way to connect with our community and with the world around us. Philadelphia's poetry scene is stronger than ever, and we're committed to fostering its growth. Together, we're building a city that celebrates creativity, values diversity, diverse voices, and makes us who we are. So let's keep the poetry flowing today, and let's make sure it reaches every corner of our community. So have a fantastic and wonderful time, and it was great meeting the founders of this event here. It was awesome. So look forward to a nice evening tonight with you all.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to now welcome Michelle Gendron, a former literature librarian at Central who started Monday Poets, to tell us more about the history of the program. Please welcome Michelle Gendron.
Yeah, I came prepared. I have a cheat sheet and I have glasses, so I'm good. Yes, my name is Michelle Gendron. I'm the former department head of the literature department and theater collection of the Free Library. Well, we handled language, linguistics, we had theater, we had bibliographies of bibliographies, we had folklore, and of course we had literature. When I first came, I was wondering how I could make my department more visible. So I decided on doing programs. Something that really wasn't done amongst the second floor subject departments. So I was breaking into a new field. Well, how to go about doing this in the mid-90s? Some of you weren't even born then, I know, but. So I decided to turn to a colleague of mine with whom I had had a great relationship programming up at the Ramonita Gutierrez de Rodriguez branch of the Free Library, Michelle Bellamini. She had done poetry programs for me with children. So we got together, we brainstormed, said what we need is a poetry workshop. And we started one. And this is the part she would rather me not remember. We named it Poets Helping Poets. Yeah, poets getting together, talking, exchanging ideas, wonderful. The downside of that, even though there was a decent attendance, the downside of that was that we suddenly realized we were giving emotional support, not poetry writing skills support. So the brains came back together, and we decided we were going to change the name to the Monday Night Poets. One little change like that and it made a difference in the world. Michelle Bellamini was phenomenal in organizing the workshop, the types of poetry that she expected from the group, and also what we did was we gave time for presentation, how to present your poem, how to stand in front of an audience and give your poem life. Well, two good things. We had a good poetry workshop, and then we had to come up with an open mic evening. So that was 2 programs every month, which were with a very small literature staff. So then we said phase 3 is going to be 1 night a month, every Monday. We were going to have featured readers, 1 featured reader, followed by an open mic. And we were drawing people not only from the city of Philadelphia and the surrounding counties, we were drawing people from New Jersey to come to these. But once we had gotten to the point of having the featured readers, by that time we were actually featuring some of our homegrown poets, poets who went on to write and publish books, who became well-known in this area and beyond. So I have to say, this would not have been able to happen without the determination of the literature department, because I have to admit our administration, the Central Library Administration, not the, the big guys up there, but Central, they weren't too sure about this literature department having a program all by themselves with no help at all. They were surprised when we had lasted 10 years. They really, really were. And I would like to give kudos to Michelle for, absolutely, for keeping the flow going 18 years after I retired. And also I want to give credit to the new literature staff and their evolving interpretation of what the Monday Poets is going to be like. Thank you.
For those who don't know, 30 years in poetry event time is about 80 years. You know, people write their poems, they move on, they leave, they go to master's programs somewhere else, and sometimes those programs leave with those people, but the Free Library is really, really grateful to have this ongoing program for this long. So clap it up again, yes. Before we get into our poets, I just want to let everyone know that we have bathrooms over there. And, you know, we have the refreshments over here. And, yeah, remember what I told you. Respond, feel it, engage, and let's get into it. There's also going to be a Q&A opportunity after each reader. So get your questions ready. So, it's time to welcome our previous Monday poet, Michelle Bellamini. Michelle's poetry has been published in many print and online journals and in various anthologies. Her chapbook, Crazy Mary and Others, was a winner in the first Plan B press competition. Her most recent volume of poetry is Signposts for Sleepwalkers. She was one of the winners of the 12th annual John and Rose Petrarca and Family Award of her poem, La Befana. She works as adjunct library faculty at Community College of Philadelphia. Please clap it up for Michelle Bellamini.
Okay. Well, I want to, I'm not that tall. I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. It's really exciting to see everyone, and 30 years. I mean, when Andrea contacted me, it was like, really? We did that? Oh, heavens. And so it's very, very exciting. And I want to thank Andrea for doing all of the work to pull this together and to pull it together so well. Yeah. So tonight I want to read some old and some new poems, and I want to start with a few poems from my first book, Translations from the Dark, from the section called A Particular Quality of Blue. And the poems in that section are all based on the tarot, the Rider-Waite tarot. And for anybody who's not familiar with the Rider-Waite tarot, it is 78 cards, the major arcana and the minor arcana. And in certain ways, they are the precursors of today's modern playing cards. However, these cards are illustrated with images from mythology and various religions, myths, as well as alchemy and magic. And so these three, I think I have. She was always looking for a certain shade of blue, a memory like the memory of her grandmother's house, a particular quality of blue, the color of gently weathered copper or bronze, but deeper than that. This poem is called The Fool. Maybe I'm too close. The Fool. Do I appear ridiculous, turning handsprings and somersaults, leaping into things the way I do? But smell the breeze, feel the rain on your face, laugh at the wrong time or at nothing at all. Unravel the lines on your palms. Do everything backwards. Any moment now, it will all become clear. This one is called Strength, and this is the image of the woman with a lion, and it is for a friend of mine will we remain nameless, for VAM, Strength. She doesn't ask for much. A cat sleeping by the window, sunlight, marigolds in a garden, and maybe some snap beans and tomatoes. She has few needs, she says. Some friends to laugh with and have a cold beer. A good man who is as strong as she is. A shiny metal teapot, something turquoise, amulet against loneliness. The ability to move soundlessly. So the terror that stalks her will not be able to track the comings and goings of this, her 38th year. Will pace back and forth like a caged lion, unable to pick up her scent, so that one day, soundlessly, or maybe humming a little tune to herself, she will calmly walk up to that beast, grab its jaws, thrust her head into its mouth, and call its bluff. I walk around the city a lot because of the work that I do, and I'm always looking at things. And you'll see that my influences are mythology, dreams, the city itself, and so I have some city poems here. And this one is called The Buddha on the Roof. The Buddha on the roof sits 3 stories up, gazes north, contemplates movement, fractals of light and energy, listens to everything. How must he wonder the ways of humans all around? Strange, heartbreaking, but then beauty and kindness. A jar of orange flowers placed on a stoop, small birds singing in pre-dawn half-light. As I mentioned, I'm all around the city, and I use SEPTA, and I don't have a problem with it most of the time. I use the buses, I use the trains, I use the L, I use the subway. I'm everywhere. I walk too, but I do use SEPTA a lot. And the thing is you can always find something interesting going on this one of those conveyances. And sometimes you find something that is totally unexpected. And this is from the volume called, the chapbook called Crazy Mary and Others. And this poem is Crazy Mary Rides the L. Gently, like a secret sunrise in the depths of the city, a melody unfurls along the platform at 15th Street. Curls through the gray, rain-slicked morning, spiraling slowly upward. Open-throated tones climb steadily, halt, bend in upon themselves, fall trembling, weave around startled rush-hour commuters, resolve, rise again, soaring. Heads bent over papers, muted thoughts look up, bewildered. A small woman huddled in a dark coat, her eyes barricaded behind thick lenses, walks along the platform. Is the music. Her hand opens, fingers extend. She coaxes note after rippling note to bend, sway to her imagination's rambling. Hand curves, music curves around the roar of the train's rush into the station. Singing, she enters the car. As the train hurls through darkness, an early morning cantata joyously floats and curls above the clash of metal wheels on metal rails. At 30th Street, she steps off, disappears into the crush of bodies. The car's passengers return to their papers, look out windows into their own stunned reflections, breathe once again. Some of us just stare at the closing doors, still captured by the unspeakable beauty, this apparition. Thank you. I write a lot of poems about working people, but I think I'm just going to read this one, and it is for my friend Margaret, and it is called Waitress at 2 a.m. Hands shoved deep into coat pockets, she walks the dark, deserted blocks under the L. All day, stiff smile, now a grimace against the rain. Traffic lights blink off and on. Feet hurt and shoulders ache. The blocks so long between train stop and home. Scuffling along, thinking about the day that jerk in booth 5 slipped out without paying. Not really looking, her feet know the way. She steps into a puddle, a soft dam at the back of her throat. Car appears at the corner, muscles contract, wait for trouble. The car speeds by, her sigh of relief audible. She's getting too old for this, but what can she do? The boss is good to her. The steady customer's nice. She thinks maybe one more year. Shoving hands deeper, she shrugs at the impossibility of it, keeps walking. And sometimes when I'm walking around the city, you find little stores that you don't expect, and you have to go in because it's all stuff, and it's like secondhand stuff, and ooh, wow. Okay, so this is called Matryoshka doll. And Matryoshka dolls are those dolls inside of dolls, so you end up with like 4 or 5 wooden dolls, all sort of looking the same. Usually they're blonde-haired and blue-eyed. Well, this is a little different. Matryoshka doll. One of those shops on an alleyway of a street, a place easy to overlook unless following a particular mood, wanting for something, a something even you are not sure of, a place to pick through the detritus of others, hoping for a spectacular find, a sign perhaps of what to do next, or just something nice to place on a shelf to be forgotten in a month or two, until suddenly noticed and puzzled over. And there she was, a Matryoshka, not the usual blonde, blue-eyed kind. This one was no handkerchiefed serf, smiling her red-lipped smile, even though archaic signifier, ancient Siberian goddess, but a woman of the Asian steppes, Indo-European, dark-eyed beauty, small painted wooden doll, carrier of stories, with her red scarf and kohl-rimmed eyes, hands and feet stained with henna. Seemed to stride boldly across the shelf. She carried 3 others with her, perhaps the 4 daughters of the great Khan, or the warrior women of the Scythians, those magnificent horsewomen archers. Surely something secret and strange. Sometimes, just about to fall asleep, I hear them singing a high-pitched song. Off into the night they ride. Thanks. And this one is a dream, a real dream. but it's about two of my favorite artists, A Dream of Yo-Yo Ma and Emily Dickinson. A small room, windows facing north and west, a writing desk, 2 chairs, one for her, one for him. They never speak to one another. He often plays the Bach cello suite in D minor, other times the Bach cello suite in G major. Sometimes that one is too jaunty for her. She lifts her gaze, the pen silent. He shifts to Schumann. They work well together like that. When she tires, she will stand and walk to the window, gazing at nothing. Sometimes he stops playing then. Over the years, tone and timbre of his playing changes, becomes fuller. Poems deepen. He plays for the music. She writes for the words. They will never speak to one another about it. Thank you. And this one is called September Evenings, and some of these will be in the new book. Yeah. Okay, so September Evenings. Sky muzzy from day's rain, wind-scattered papers hug flimsy branches of nearly dead trees. Someone huddles on subway steps, is singing an old hymn. City Hall's baleful yellow eye stares down, buildings lined up like chunky carborundum etchings. Footsteps, staccato pavement, skitter off blank windows. The bus is late. Dazed faces, watchful, wait for its fluorescent gleam. Hope it doesn't rain again. As you can tell from my last name, I do have Italian heritage. However, I am also Lebanese. And all of my grandparents and one of my parents, my mother, are immigrants to this country. And that is where this particular poem comes from. I have others, but I just wanted to read this one. In that country, stories count for something. The women will tell you things braided with complaints. This morning's coffee was bitter and the laban didn't set right. Listen carefully. Don't get distracted by the fly wandering the bowl of figs. It too is telling you something about sweetness, hunger, and thirst. These women will take you in, even though you are only a distant cousin, will pat your arm as they talk. They hug and laugh with one another so easily, passing around plates of cookies and dates, pouring coffee or lemonade. Do not flinch away, as the pandemic has taught you to do in your country. How will they remember you? The woman with eyes like theirs who came looking for family, who listened for hours to stories, laughed and cried with them, bid farewell 2 days later, knowing she would never be able to return. She let them hold her then and whisper goodbye in her ear. Thank you. Okay, I think 2 more. I have time, I think. Yeah, okay. I tried to time this. Okay, this one will be called In a Time of War when it goes into the new book. There is a line in here from one of Pope Francis's speech to the refugees on Lesbos, the island, from December of 2021. And it is for my friend Europe. I know a man who escaped from Iraq. He had less than 10 minutes to decide what to take. Even if you travel with others, you are alone. The twins, danger and death at your back. Years before, I walked beside a flock of sheep tended by an old woman, island famed in ancient times for the woman poet residing there. On certain days, the light just so. You can see the tip of Africa across the water. Anything can throw you off course. Blustering winds, moon's strange tides, heat, thirst. Along a city street, caught between construction and squealing tires, I hung at the curb, staring at my feet. A kestrel, small hawk, her migration shattered by glass canyons, wind shear. An era of barbed wire and walls, the stupidity of greed and corruption, old forests burning, undrinkable water, yet another species extinct. Not even the greatest of lyric poets could make beauty of what is happening here. To end on a slightly lighter note. Okay, this one has no title at the moment. Sleep with prayer beads under your pillow. Keep a candle burning. Who knows what or who will come to you then? In the morning, walk along the ocean. The letters you hold, let them flutter away, white egrets against a pellucid sky. Remove the mask you normally wear. Bury it deep in the sand beside the flowering jacaranda tree. Slide a silver ring on your finger. Sing and dance a song of mourning. Swim away on the current flowing in an unknown direction. Thank you.
Oh, don't go. We're gonna open it up to questions.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, me too. Because I already have the floor, I'm gonna ask a question.
Oh, okay.
So when I was listening to your poetry, especially the ones that are really like getting into the visual imagery of some moment in time, it feels very mystical. And you said that you were influenced by mythology and dreams and that. So when you're observing these things, are you using your poetry to mystify them, or do they come to you that way?
That's a good question, because sometimes I think as I'm writing, it could be just a normal kind of everyday situation. But as I'm writing, because the mythology is always like rolling around in my head, I often do let it go that way. But sometimes some of it is just like, wow, is that really happening? What? You know? And so sometimes it's more that. But very often I do think about various myths and legends and whatnot, because I'm also a storyteller, and I do a lot of that as I tell my stories. So it does happen that way too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions?
That's fine if you don't.
Well, thank you for your time.
Okay,
Oh, wait,
thank
we got
you.
one, we got one.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, it's a pleasure to hear you. I've known your name as a food poet person for years, and I just never got to hear you, so
Oh,
it's really a pleasure to hear you.
Oh,
My
thank you.
question is about Sephir.
yes.
Can you just say more about that and about whether you could see yourself, generating a whole series about Sephir?
Well, I
Also share your sense of bravery at this point.
I don't really think of myself as brave, but I have worked all over the city. Before I came to the Free Library Literature Department, I was in various branches all over the city. So I learned to put on a certain face. And, you put on a certain face and it's sort of like, don't touch me, you'll die. And because I'm small. But I do have a bunch of poems about various things that have happened in going up at 69th Street and various other places So I do have almost, like, I forget, I think I have 5 or 6 now. And so they might become like one section of a book, yeah. But the thing is other than New York and Washington, D.C., if you go to some other places, you are really out of luck. And you come back and you say, oh, thank goodness for SEPTA, no matter how late the bus is, you know. Because there have been times when I've stood at 22nd and Arch, freezing, trying to get the 48 or the 7. So I understand. SEPTA, yeah,
Oh, we got one more question.
yes.
I found your, the one about the dream very amusing. I was just wondering, did you have to take the time to like write down what happened in the dream?
Oh.
I just forget very quickly, but I was wondering if it remained vivid for a very long time.
I do write down my dreams when I do remember them, and sometimes my dreams are very vivid, and other times it's just like an image. And that one actually came from the image of Yo-Yo Ma and Emily Dickinson, who happens to be one of my favorite poets. And I love Yo-Yo Ma, but sitting in a room. And so what I did was I embroidered, and that's how the poem came about. Yeah. No, thanks.
Let's clap it up again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I really needed this today. I didn't realize I needed this. So thanks, Michelle. Now it's time to welcome our new Monday poet, Raina J. Leon. Dr. Leon, PhD, is Black, Afro-Boricua, and from Philadelphia, Lenni Lenape ancestral lands. She is the author of Black God Mother This Body, Canticle of Idols, Boogeyman Dawn, Sombra, Dislocate, and the chapbooks Profeta Without Refuge, and Areto and Atabe, Essays on the Mothering Self. She is a founding editor of the Acentos Review, an online quarterly international journal devoted to the promotion and publication of Latinx arts. She currently supports poets and writers as faculty at the Stone Coast MFA at the University of Southern Maine. Give a round of applause for Raina Leon.
I'm so happy to be with you all today. This is one of my favorite places in the world, a place of wonder, and I was sharing with Andrea all my little mishaps or of memories of like, oh yeah, I had my first job interview in that building over there, and the worst like Beetlejuice outfit you would ever want to have. So I'm like in the car laughing to myself on the way here while I'm circling the block like 6 times to find parking. So I'm super happy to be here. Thank you, Kai, for the introduction. Thank you, Andrea, for organizing. Thank you, Michelle, and Michelle for organizing. Again, happy to be with you. So I'm going to be reading some new poems as well as poems from my second collection, Boogeyman Dawn, and my most recent, Black God Mother This Body. And I didn't realize the pattern, but it is there, where I have been very concerned about children and the process of becoming and the communities around that becoming for a very long time. And I just wanted to share with you this piece of art from my son. It's in my book. And it's in my book because it becomes a cueing image for augmented reality. So there are about 5 images in the book where if you have the app Halo AR, you can get home videos, you can get poems, you can get short films and interviews and all sorts of things in connection with. But my babies, I now have 3. My youngest is almost 6 months, 5 months. So 6, 4, and 5 months. I've been busy, y'all. I talk about them a lot, too. So I'll read some of these poems. The first is a Philly poem. Does anyone know the dancer and teacher Marion Chouget? Oh, great. Really? Okay, you'll know everything I say is true. So I had the great fortune of taking a class with her in the last year of her life. Incredible, incredible dancer and organizer. She was French and Black, and because she was a fair skin and blue eyes, folks thought that she was white. She never attempted to pass, but she didn't correct you if you were wrong. And so she danced with the Pennsylvania Ballet, if I remember correctly, and then was pushed out when they realized who she was. And she started her own company for Black dancers and had a long, storied career. Judith Jamison was one of her students, among many, many other folks throughout dance ever, all over the place. So to have studied with her is an incredible, incredible gift. But she wasn't like the most gentle. Here is the poem, An Ode to Susu. With knotted cane and chisel voice, Miss Sujet could sculpt a ballerina. Balanced at the bar, two girls on one side, two on the other facing in, we would await her command. Stomachs in, barely breathing as she hobbled the room, correcting with hard nudges of the cane's crook. We silenced ourselves, made into gazelles or does, dumb, graceful, strong. When all had passed her inspection with tears that parted the summer's dust, or silent pride at being spared a jab, she would begin to beat the tile into a jangling, steady rhythm, with a melody in her raspy voice to some ballet composed in a magical land of leisure, courts, and kings that existed far beyond West Philly. Its sidewalks that sweated and groaned below as we did above, plie and first position. Watch the port de bras, stomachs in, now grand plie, don't shit on the floor. 3 more times, now in second, then third, fourth, and fifth. French method, not Cicchetti, Susu, soutenu, and again. She harmonized with herself cruelty over resonant notes. Somehow baptized with our assault, she summoned 2 voices, and then 3. Plus the cane for percussion, car horns for cymbals, a symphony for an hour of workshop, tendu, battement, pirouette, échappée, arabesque, attitude, promenade, then more. On her feet, she would stalk that floor, nimble and balletic still, until finally the throne of her kingdom would call. She would sit at the edge of a flimsy folding chair, an alert queen, quick with tongue, biting wit. She commanded a floor combination. Tombe, parabere, glissa, jete, attitude, promenade, préparé, piqué, pirouette, and more. Ever more, left to right, then right to left, each step one into her past, perhaps into our futures. Of bloody lambs hidden beneath pink silk and wooden boxes, resin burns on our fingers for the promise of tutus and crisp buns. Miss Sujet was known to be oracle. If she bowed her head to you, lifted up the golden bob to look deep into with those hiding water eyes and said, "Go study more, tell them I sent you," then you had received her blessing. Her gnarled fingers became smooth with caress. You were rechristened, favored, beloved, brown girl, one with promise. First, the last exercises, the honoring of the floor and the mirrored audience with their reflective stares and critiques. She bade us dance, dance to the dressing room, as if we had not bled, as if the point shoes were lined slippers and not costumed prison boxes, as if we were treasured children off to the land of dreams. So we danced and we skipped, we frolicked like nymphs for a queen with no care for loss, and then a bow, humble servant still, to one of power and adoration. And in the dressing room with the door closed, most likely her ear to that door, we would despise. Who does she think she is? She was French and Black. What does she know about dance? She had lived the color girl's disappointments, the ballet expulsion for color alone, and some triumphs too. What does she know about life, we'd ask, but what did we know? We would despise her with words and venerate her with spent bodies and the worship of removing the shoes, the mottled lamb's wool, bandaging our feet from missteps and shuffles before winding the ribbons around the tattered silk, burned and worn and dirty, but ours, she had given us that. She was amazing. She was amazing. This poem from my father, Spanish interpreter certificate. My dad is hilarious. He is also the kind of person that if you know him for 2 seconds, he knows your whole life story. And I lived in Germany for a little spell. I was teaching over there. And my dad came to visit me. I had to beg for like 2 years. And he finally comes to visit me, and I would joke with people, you know, my dad's going to be here for what day, and then he's going to know everybody's business in the neighborhood. He doesn't even speak German. But I think, and I tell you, it was like that. He had friends. But this is about his journey to become a Spanish interpreter. My father whimpers he might be stupid, so he reads the books twice, memorizes the words and places them in my mouth so I won't ever be dumb. Cálculo biliar, muela cordal, laringe, gallstone, wisdom tooth, larynx, and other names of the body's hidden places, the caverns for ache. He needs me to explore the words of my tongue, repeat them with the muscles of my face. His is still scarlet with the punch a priest placed there when he was 14. Didn't know the meaning of courtesy in English, or how to be poor and still proud. He thought himself stupid. At 57, he leaks the shame, but he wants to learn, walks in rain to classes, though his knees throb arthritic and his vision fails in dark places. He sits with the other multi-tongued, those who would interpret when pain thickens too much for hands to sign. My father is not stupid. He passed his test at the top of his class, just far too intelligent to not speak the language of suffering. Este dolor me duele, me duele, me duele. Okay. So, do you remember, it was 2006, and there was a shooting in an Amish school. And there were 5 little girls who were killed. And I remember I was on a residency far, far away. I was in Montana, and I happened to be watching the news, and I was devastated because I was like, yo, if they come for the Amish, they got buggies. Like, if it doesn't stop here, it will never stop. Something must be done. This is the Amish. They got buggies. And that was long before Sandy Hook, long before shooting after shooting after shooting. So this poem is a hard poem, and it, as a content warning, it speaks to violence with guns from the voice of the gun. So take care of yourselves. It's called The Pistol's Confession, and I will begin with singing a song which I was doing a reading. I was just going to read the poem, and I was preparing for the reading, and then this song intruded itself into my mind. And I first heard it in the movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? So I'll sing a little piece of that. The Pistol's Confession. Go to sleep, you little babe. Go to sleep, you little babe. Come lay bones on the alabaster stones and be my ever-loving babe. Go to sleep, you little babe. Go to sleep, you little babe. You and me and the devil make 3, don't need no ever-loving babe. All I ever wanted was to be held slick in his grip, wetting me down with want. I wanted to be a vessel for his fire, explosive possibility of spark, the powder that swallows resolution and spits it out and challenges steel. I was born to be a force of reckoning, a force to split and fuse with heat. I was forged to be the forge for smoldering, but never this. I was not shaped for this. His eyes were faulty, but I could see all those pretty little faces, not pinned to straw, but moving and shifting from smile to grimace, moving targets, sure, but not those hitched on a motor and moved left and right, forward and backward. These cowered beneath desks, hid themselves even within their bones. I just wanted to be held, and there he was holding me to the fire, to the ecstasy of killing. All those pretty little faces, with my charred mark, my sizzle and burn, they explode just like straw in bits. I teased, seduced with my circle of steel, like a ring of promise, ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies. Oh, how I sung for him over the whimpers, the bloody throats gurgling their last prayers. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. I was so good, he couldn't help but hold me close, right so he could hear me. I gave him his resolution back. Ashes, ashes. Won't you hold me? Won't you hold me? I just wanted to be held. Y'all okay? Okay, I'm going to read, I think, 3 more poems. I think that's where I am. Okay. So my son, my oldest, is amazing. And my babies, they all have their favorite colors. My daughter, everything was blue. My son, everything was green. They knew what their colors were. You say, point to the white thing. They point to the white thing. You say, what is that? What color is that thing? They say, green or blue. Very late, actually. Now they're much older, but for a long time, they were both pretty consistent in this. And I think that's the only thing you need to know. The only color. Verde, verde, verde. Every color is verde. And I think on Federico Garcia Lorca, how I read this poem to him, days old, his whole body less than 6 pounds on my chest, and now he stands a wild octopus boy on a chair reaching for the markers. Verde, verde, he says, though the uncapped tool marks page to orange, and his father says, he just knows what the best color is. I say naranja, or anaranjado, he has to know his colors, and go into a diatribe about school, not being behind. It is not about school. He is my son, and so the box waits, a check mark of abuses woven into his identity. Will he ever be able to just be the creative child who says verde, verde, verde for all the colors, glorified for how his mind stretches divergent? My husband does not know that the box can be a casket, and each day we must fight for it not to be. Ahmad ran on a street lined with green leaves. Lorca wrote a poem. They shot him too. So bright. I just want my son to know his colors and live. Okay. Read the poem. At the school where few can say my children's names correctly. Epigraph. The Peregrine Moonlander was set to carry payloads from 2 different companies to the moon. Did you know this? It was in January. Elysium Space was going to carry 25 people's ashes, and Celestis with materials for about 70 people and a dog. The landing failed and burned in Earth's atmosphere. The Navajo Nation were the only people to say, this, not a good idea. The moon is sacred. Don't do this. My son free wanders the school grounds as we go to pick up his sister. His world, the mulch, the wobbly stone, still winter, but my body swelters in its bulbous sway and saunter, coat left behind. I carry a thin-skinned boulder that puckers from internal kicks, alive, and holding what I would keep alive. I guide our way through the draped mouths, wide caves, and child faces. There are no Black children in this scene. I wonder A wonder that there is one black teacher outside. She calls, "I've been waiting to see you. How are you?" As if we are old friends, but of course we are. Has she too been spectacle in being? In a chocolate city, I wonder how many of these babies have never seen a black woman thickly dancing a new cosmos to terra firma. Above us, a bird carries ashes of the dead to the moon. Despite Earth stewards shouting resistance, the moon already has a face. Above us, a bird misses the moon's craters and burns the nameless dead again and again and again. No one looked up. A black woman's body yaws for their eyes to track here. And I think I have failed my children. Somewhere, ashes fall upon small bodies like theirs. Okay. Short poem. Protest. My daughter wanted to resist going to the potty, except if she has a video. And so now she said, or at one point she was saying, "No pepper, no potty." So that's where that comes from. Protest. "No pepper, no potty," she says while she hardens her eyes, drops her mouth's softness to stone grimace. She will not go, though she must. No pepper, no potty. When I remind that she can watch as I do her hair, our morning ritual, love and tender brush, I offer her this lesson. I will support and celebrate her ability to choose even her own body's work. I will always affirm her right, but protest for free life. Should I tell her about the girl in the bombed out car? Her family dead around her, how she called for help, the pleading of many tongues, help. All she received was her body's retrieval when the bullet stopped gutting metal, how to cut the wisps of my daughter with this, a name, Hind Rajab, which means not only gentle deer, but tender, a name which means respect to awe, to fear, gentle to all the feared dear, how to succor my daughter on new words. I want my daughter to protest. I don't want her to call out for help, atrocity and devastation and genocide. No pepper, no potty. We must protest. Protest for the good of people. Protest to live out a gentle awe without fear. Thank y'all.
Okay. Once again, I will jump in front of the line to ask a question. My question for you is, how has watching your children see the world change how you approach or practice poetry?
When my son was little, my oldest was little, I would do these posts on Facebook. You notice my position. It was hashtag, this is the beginning of an essay. Those are my Facebook statuses. And so it was an essay, but it was also me like recounting and finding the poetic, the magical, the elusive, and recognizing that with my postpartum mind, I wouldn't be able to hold it for very long. So social media was a lot of my like holding of the ephemeral. But my kids help me play. They help me play a lot. They also are hilarious, and so they help me to find those tender shifting moments within the tumult, right? But also reminding us that there's great life and joy and blossoming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from we got one.
Hello.
Hi, I first want to say thank you so much for reading. You guys are great. Also, my question kind of concerns things that I've heard from my other professors and teachers before, and I really appreciate you singing "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" and giving kind of context to it as well. It kind of made me see this like peaceful darkness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my question is, how much prefacing do you do on the page compared to publicly performing, and what do you think the right amount is?
Well, this series was founded by storytellers. So, so I figured, you might want a story. Yeah. No, absolutely. absolutely. The question of context. On the page, it's a poem, right? On occasion, there's a small epigraph. The poem to Marion Chouget, for example, is only noted to her. The poem that's newer is in connection with the failed moon landing. It has that epigraph. It has what I read, but other than that, no. So I think for me, in context within a collection, I don't give as much framing with story, but I think a lot about how the narrative and emotional arc of the collection is, so that the story can be built for you, or you as a reader can create your own story as you read the poems together.
I appreciate the answer, Doctor.
Do we have any other questions? Yes.
I thought it was really interesting to hear you read right after Michelle Bellini, because like the whole point of the series was like a poet from before,
Yeah.
and now a poet from now. Obviously, you still exist, but like, it kind of struck me that you both had like sort of like globalist or internationalist like components to your work, like speaking of like struggles that parallel our own.
Yeah.
But then also like stories from like other places that fascinate us. So how do you feel like that the poetics of that has evolved over time, has been incorporated like into your work? That's a big question, but I figured you were done.
And I actually really want to hear Michelle's answer to that question too. I think that part of the poet's work is to be, so I run a reading series, which will always happen before this one. It's called Wild Indigo. Denise Froman read last night, and she was talking about the poet's work of maintaining an embodied self, especially in the face of incredible violence and struggle. And so a lot of the work of the machine, of power structures, is to separate you from your own body, right? And the work of the poet, and I believe this is true, and totally agree with her, the work of the poet is to help us, to draw us into this embodied understanding of how we relate to one another, what is valuable. There's a poet and theater worker called Luis Valdez who has a poem called In La Quech, right? Tu eres mi otro yo, you're my other me, right? And it's back and forth. And if we realize that, then how do we act towards one another, right? So I think the poet's work is also to help us to see those connections, right?
Great answer. We got a question over here.
Do you incorporate more Spanish into your poetry? Do you do bilingual?
Yeah, so my poems will definitely have a lot of like Spanish phrases throughout. In Boogeyman Dawn, there's one poem that's back and forth. It's a dance between lovers, and so some of the lyrics are, or some of the italics are lyrics from Spanish language music, but are also Spanish between lovers, right? But I don't think in any of my books do I have a full poem of Spanish. I'm too scared.
Is your thought process in Spanish?
It really depends. And I think that is because I grew up with both. And then there are some things that, like, I didn't know the English word until I was, much older. Like, I didn't know the English word for living room, which is simple. It's silly, right? But I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that it was, like, I only knew it as sala, right? So there are a lot of things that I didn't know until I was much older, and I was like, oh, well, interesting. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's go to the living room. I don't know what you're talking about. But as far as like only thinking in Spanish, I only do that in my dreams. And I'm a dream talker, so I talk in my sleep, and so I know that I'm talking eventually. And my husband will be like, "You're talking in your sleep again," but I only do it in my sleep. I don't think I've ever told anybody that.
These are great questions. Any last questions? Okay, you got one more?
So, you started off with a poem about this experience dancing, and something that I've heard from other people who are creative in multiple ways is that sometimes those other ways of being creative influence how they write poetry.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like there's a connection between dance or any other ways that you're creative and how you write poetry?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I I experiment across a number of different forms. So I have a lot of training. I wouldn't say that I'm excellent in any of those forms, but I have training in vocal things and instruments and so on. And that keys my ear to the music of words, right? I think a lot about how they function together. And part of my editing process is also this process of reading aloud to folks, because then I hear, oh, that was hitch, that don't belong there. But I think with dance, I'm aware of how my body that's what I have learned from dance. One is to fall well, but the other thing that's the key to life. But the other thing is around how to use language to re-summon an experience, right? Because the experience of me like interviewing, I laughed at that remembrance. That's still in my body, right? As a dancer, I'm still attuned to that, right? So, yeah. So take a dance class, Zumba. What y'all doing?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Give it up, give it up. Wow. I really needed this. I know this is not about me right now, but oh my gosh. Spreadsheets. I mean, they're not at all like poems. And I've just been looking at spreadsheets a lot lately. I want to close with a quick poem. It's actually on those bookmarks that are over there, so you could take this poem home. This poem is about my late father. The house swells with gospel. God and glory so dense made everybody move slow. Daddy just stuck in it, tapping his foot and shaking his head to an imagined tambourine. Like 1978 turned to 2016, and he'd been sitting in that pew the whole time. Some people shout when they worship. My daddy weeps, grabs me and my sister to his chest, worships into our hair, worships into his hands. Glory be to God. Glory, 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 so dense, we stand still till the radio goes out. Thank you. And I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. There is no Monday Poets without the people supporting Monday Poets. And I want to make sure you know to join next month at Blackwell Regional Library in West Philly. Monday Poets is every third Monday, and you're going to be hearing poets Fernita Hall and Lindo Jones. I love these people. And now I want to welcome Andrea from the Literature Department to close out the event. Thank you.
Celebration of everybody who's been here. So I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and celebrating with us. Can we please have the poets and Michelle Gendron and Kai come up and get your flowers? Thank you so much. Thank you both for all your work in founding everything. Thank you, deserve it. Oh, here you go. You're welcome. I believe in giving everyone their flowers now, y'all. Just love people and give them all their flowers. So again, let me close out. I just want to give a shout out real quick to everyone. Y'all, this was a serious labor of love from the Literature Department for this whole season. We put a lot of work into it, and just tonight, I'm like, I see it coming to fruition, and I'm so excited. So thank you, Kai, Michelle G, Michelle B, and Raina for being here tonight. Everyone, please check out Literature's upcoming programs and flyers at this table. We also have a bunch of circulating books to check out of Monday Poets, so feel free to grab a book and take it downstairs and check it out. And also, Raina has a few books for sale. Again, organizing this season was a labor of love. It was such a team effort. It could not have happened without y'all see the beautiful graphics? Do y'all see this stuff? Thank you, graphics team. I'm going to shout out to one person here, Jen. Thank you so much for the graphics team. Look at this. We have this all season. Thank you to graphics. Also, thank you to AV and IT for doing all the work. Moody's recording this tonight to upload it. We also have a new Monday Poets website that came up, so check it out. Go to Lit, has all the information on it. I also want to thank the Free Library Foundation for giving us financial support. Hello, we got Wegmans, yes, financial support for tonight. Also, our communications team, I don't know if y'all seen our Instagram and stuff, but communications is lit. They've been doing all the stuff. And I also want to thank our Culinary Literacy Center for helping us order food, because there's no community without food. So we had to make sure that was a big one for this season. And again, we hope to see you at all the events all over the city. Again, poetry is not a luxury, it is for the people, and we are the Free Library, and we are for the people. So we'll see you all season, okay? Thank you. All right, have a good night. Y'all be safe getting home. Thank you.